Hello, hello. This is Justin Hampton, the founder of CompTool. And today I'm really excited to take a little bit of time to talk about a new feature that we just rolled out. So we've actually just rolled out a new feature that is incorporating ChatGPT into CompTool and Squirrel. And one of the really exciting things about ChatGPT, if you haven't seen that, is it's probably one of the now most popular and most well-known learning language models. And when we saw it, the first thing we kind of thought to ourselves was, "Oh, we can do something with that. We can fix job descriptions." And so we had actually been thinking about for quite some time, putting a job description manager into the comp tool, and we had a pretty big plan for how we were going to do that. Once we saw the ChatGPT and the learning language model and how it could be applied, we really quickly thought differently about how we wanted to really kind of help the practitioner, the comp practitioner, to develop job descriptions much more quickly. So today what we're going to do is we're going to spend a little bit of time walking through a deck I have presented or prepared. I know it's a PowerPoint, but we'll get through it pretty quickly, and then we'll actually take a quick look at the job description manager. We'll look at what it can do. We'll look at what it can't do. We'll address some of the questions that I think some folks have asked in terms of what are the limitations of these learning language models and how are we addressing those. So let's get my screen shared. And I think we'll want to do, this is always the fun part. Let's see, we'll get this one turned on. We'll turn off the narration piece. Now, all right, here we go. We will share this screen. And we'll get, that's fun. We will start the presentation right here. Okay. So again, I'm Justin Hampton, founder of CompTool, compensation practitioner. I've got about 15 years of compensation experience working at companies such as Starbucks, Greyhound, Big Fish Games, Product Madness in the UK. And a couple of years ago, decided to jump out and start just the CompTool. I worked for companies that didn't have market pricing solutions because budgetary constraints, and really thought that we could do something to kind of address that issue. A couple of years later, we came up with an idea for Squirrel with the pay transparency questions. We said, it's probably something interesting we can do with all of that data that's out there. Now we have more than 22 million job postings from the US, the UK, Canada. We just launched Canada, and we just launched Australia. So we have global data that starts off at $3,500 a year, 22 million data points, $3,500 a year, company-specific, job-specific information. It's market data that you're probably already looking for just by Googling different companies to find the data. But I know that's not what we're here for, so let's hop into a little bit more, just a little bit of background. So as I said, we started off as a market pricing tool. We rolled out Squirrel, our market data solution. We have our salary survey management platform, which is incredibly fast. It actually filters with each keystroke. Oh, let's see. Oh, okay, let's see. So you can't see what I'm presenting. Hold on just a second. Let's see if we can't fix that. Thank you for that email. All right, let's try it this way. We'll do this here. We'll share this screen. And there is my desktop. And I think if we turn this on now, well, I always wish that these things were backwards. I think, can you switch this? Nope. Display set. Aha, there we are. Okay. Now we're up and running. All right, so where was I? Okay, so everyone knows about this piece, so we'll just go to the next piece. All right, so why did we think job descriptions were an important thing to take care of? So the reason we wanted to do job descriptions was actually because a lot of this stemmed from a project that I have from my professional experience working for a company where one of our offices actually had a 50% turnover rate for several years in a row. And we talked to managers. They said, it's because of pay. We talked to HR and they said, oh, it's because of managers. We talked to leadership and they said it was because of pay. So we took a very, very detailed look at what was actually driving the issues there. We looked at turnover, or we looked at the exit interviews. We looked at our market rates. We looked at career hierarchies and job paths and job descriptions. And we found that there was a combination of things that were really driving this large attrition rate. But the one that really stuck out to me was when we talked to the employees that had left. They said the biggest issue was they didn't know where their next, what was expected of them. They didn't know what the next step in their career progression was. So what we did to take care of that issue was we spent about 6 months making sure that every single employee in that office had a job description and a career path that they not only were helping to participate in, but they were also, we took the time to explain that description to them. We took the time to describe what the different levels within the organization were. We took the time to make sure they understood what was expected of them in their current role and what was going to be expected of them for promotion. After we did this, we actually dropped the turnover rate to about 23%, which was within our industry standard for several years running. And what I thought was really interesting about that was, we all as compensation practitioners typically think of pay being one of the more important things around employees. And, pay oftentimes is described as it's never a motivator, it's always a demotivator. So you have to have that right. But just as important, oftentimes, and I've seen from my own personal experiences, there's a lot of other things like being appreciated, having expectations set, knowing that you have opportunities that help drive that employee experience. And we found that job descriptions were a big part of that. So when I asked who owns the job descriptions, or who owns the job descriptions, 40% of companies, out of 1,000 people that participated in my survey, 40% said comp, 34% said HR, 12% said managers, and everybody else. Good luck to you guys. I know that's a challenging position to be in. And 13% said recruiting. I always found this a little bit interesting to find that comp typically owns the job descriptions more frequently than anybody else. I laughed as I was looking at it because oftentimes we are the ones that finalize the description with the HR partners and the managers to comp the roles out, assign the grade, and then put them in the HRIS system. So oftentimes we were just the last stop in actually developing those jobs or plugging those into it. And because of that, we oftentimes took the ownership. Whether it was right or wrong, it was oftentimes how that came together. But what were the biggest challenges with those descriptions? And what we wanted to do, why we asked this question, was we wanted to figure out what problems could we solve with our job description manager. The biggest problem, the biggest challenge is actually writing the job description. And it's not a surprise to me. What I always found kind of interesting too, though, was there's so much information out there. If you're writing a description for a job that you've never seen before, you can probably Google that job, find a fairly good description for it, and then tailor that to meet your specific needs. I oftentimes found, though, that was a secret that only compensation people knew, because you'd be working with an HR manager or working with the line manager, and they would just be having a really difficult time writing the job description. You say, well, how have other companies written this? Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it. So to me, what oftentimes felt like a very obvious next step wasn't something that was always recognized by folks that maybe only write 1 or 2 job descriptions a year at most. The other challenge was finding job descriptions. I know that I've lived in worlds where you have 6 different versions in 6 different locations. And finding the official job description is a big challenge, especially if you're looking for a job description from someone that was working 3 years ago, because there could be a number of reasons why you would need to pull that. The scariest one is an FLSA audit looking at jobs from a couple of years ago. You need to be able to find the active job descriptions for those kinds of audits. The approvals process, making sure you've got the right stakeholders in place, oftentimes fairly challenging. And finding the right market data also can be challenging once you've got those descriptions. How long does it take to write job descriptions? We've got about 1 in 20 say they can write it in about 15 minutes. I'm not sure if those are the folks that are using our system yet, but typically speaking, about 68, 2/3 of folks are saying it's going to take them over an hour to write a job description. And so when we looked at all these challenges and we looked at what folks were struggling with and where time was being spent, we really decided that we could actually solve most of these problems through developing better stakeholder engagement. I always find that this is one of the really important pieces, that if you want to create a job description that people recognize, acknowledge, and accept, having them be part of that process is really important, especially when you're pricing the jobs, to make sure that you've got the right data to work with. The next piece is the automated drafting. Now, of course, this is something that we had been eyeballing for a while, but when ChatGPT launched back in November, we immediately thought this is actually going to be a really fantastic solution. And we quickly kind of changed course and began implementing ChatGPT within our solution to help you create bespoke and first drafts of your job descriptions. We found that it would be easy. We could make the approvals process easy, and we found that we can attach market data to those jobs to make life a little bit easier as you're kind of going through and connecting your jobs to your market data. So the problems we solved: we've consolidated things, we've managed version control, we manage your approval chains, and now we're writing the job description drafts for you. But I think it's important to understand that AI is a tool to enhance your efficiency. So if you were coming to this presentation thinking, I'll never have to write a job description again, sorry to disappoint you, that's not the case. That's not what we're going to suggest this can do yet. We will suggest that the AI that we're leveraging can help you write a job description draft very quickly, very accurately, and very consistently. But you're still going to want to incorporate that human interaction and that human touch before you create that final job description, because there are some limitations. Some of those limitations may include limited information from the survey libraries, or from the, not survey libraries, from the language learning models. They can be customizable and bespoke, but to a limit. Now, there are some companies that have very specific language that gets incorporated to jobs. There are ways that the information can be presented that's very specific to some companies. And if it's a standardized approach and it can be applied kind of at a global level, we can manage that. We can help with that. But if it's very, very nuanced language that must be included, again, the learning language models aren't necessarily going to be able to replicate that or build that into it. But again, that's why we're suggesting that the job description management, when it leverages this kind of AI, is really designed to be a tool to enhance your productivity, not to replace the human. Another limitation is it's not a magician and it's not a stand-up comedian. So what do I mean by that? Well, a couple of weeks ago, we were showing the first iteration of the ChatGPT job description manager to it. And the folks we were talking to, they wanted to see if they could stump the model. I'll tell you, you can stump the model. It's not difficult to do, but practically speaking, you're probably not going to be trying to stump it if you're trying to get it to help you write the description. And so what I mean by how do we stump it? Well, we looked at it a couple of different ways. Or the folks we were working with, they wanted to stump it in a different way. So they said, well, let's write a job description for a business analyst. I can't even tell you what a business analyst does. They analyze business, but what does that actually mean? So when you have these very generic job descriptions, or very generic job titles, you're going to find challenges getting tools to actually help you write those job descriptions, because it needs to have a little bit more information to go off of. Now, we have a standardized leveling tool that we use, so it can help you write a very generic job description for a specific level in your organization. But if you want to write those descriptions, it's good to have more commonly known or more specific job titles for the purpose of writing the descriptions. You can save those job titles with whatever you want, but it needs to be a little bit more specific around there. That being said, it can't be so specific that it's a job that you've never heard of. I was talking to another organization, and they wanted us to write a description for a custodial animal manager. I said, let's plug that in and see what happens. So we plugged it in, it came back with something that just the description did not align to what their role was. So I asked myself, what does a custodial animal manager do? He said, well, that's their job that we have in our stores that goes and cleans up the animal pens. They take care of the animals. They give them food. They give them water, and they talk to customers. Well, there are other titles that we can use to create those good job descriptions. So understanding kind of how those models are driven, how the prompts are sent, how the language models take that information as the prompt and regurgitate or spit back out something that's useful to you is going to be something that is going to be important when you're leveraging tools like this and tools like we've introduced in CompTool. So we have just launched this in the last week. So right now, here's our roadmap. We're going to develop and launch our initial job description manager. We're going to be spending time focusing and developing enhanced prompting. We're going to further integrate the market data with the job description management tool. And we're going to be exploring additional automations that only a tool like Compensation Tool can do based on the information that we have through the Squirrel data set, as well as through the Compensation Tool data set that is specific to each of our clients. And so as we kind of roll those out, the key considerations that we have are that we're leveraging ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo. We are uniquely affordable. This is a $2,000 add-on, folks. We know that other companies will charge about 10 times that much for a tool that does less than ours does. And for me, that's a really important thing. That's one of the reasons why I founded the Compensation Tool, is because I worked for companies that didn't have these huge budgets. And that's really where Compensation Tool came from. We wanted to create something that was fast, easy to use, and affordable. And that's what we think we've done. That's kind of what we continue to do. Another consideration too is you can actually customize these descriptions. You can add your own logo. You can incorporate different software applications. You can choose to include job tasks, job responsibilities. You can add your company mission statement. Everything can be customized. You can move these around as you want to. You can really kind of change the order of things, the information that's included. And you can actually even define your job levels, because one of the things we found was if you're writing a job description and it doesn't have good language around the different job levels, it's going to spit something out that maybe doesn't align to your internal job levels. So what we did to solve that was we rolled out a job leveling framework that then gets incorporated into the job descriptions that are written. You can also make these job descriptions your own. You can give them your own DNA. And how do you do that? Well, if we ask and send a prompt, the job title accountant at the individual contributor intermediate level, it's going to come back with something. But if we need specific certifications, such as GAAP principles, QuickBooks, tax regulations, we can actually throw that information in there, and the system will send that information back to us in the job description, such as is highlighted on right here, 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 and here. And again, even if it doesn't send you exactly what you're looking for, you are able to edit that information. So the job description manager, as I was saying, it's not designed to replace humans. It's designed to allow you to get a really great jumpstart on writing those descriptions, and then you can edit those and create them as you need. And can I afford it? Yes, most likely. It's a $2,000 add-on. And can I try it for free? Yes, we actually do have a freemium version of all of this. So we have a freemium version of Squirrel, and with that freemium version of Squirrel, you can add in your own jobs. You can actually connect the Squirrel data to your jobs. So you can actually benchmark your jobs with the Squirrel data. Once you've loaded in jobs, you can actually start building job descriptions for those. It's a limited number, but it does give you the ability to really hop in there, test the system, see if it's going to work for you. If it is, we'll reach out, we'll set up some time, and we can kind of dive into it more deeply. So this is the first part of the presentation where we actually want to kind of walk through what did we do. So now the second part, what we want to do is come back to stop sharing our screen. And let's actually hop into the system here for a minute, and we'll just take a quick look. All right, let's get logged into the CompTool, and I'll share my screen again. And as we come in here, There we go. All right, so let's get my screen shared again. Bring it over here and here. All right, screen shared. Okay, there we are. All right, so we've got the screen shared now. Okay, so if we come in here, here's our squirrel data set, but we recently added the ability for you to load all of your jobs or a couple of your jobs. If we come back to this piece right here, this is going to be the job table that you can load into the system. You can see we've loaded a handful of jobs here, and let's just go ahead and we'll start with this one. Let's find out. Let's write a description for a compensation analyst. So we'll come over here to the job description piece. We will see here that we do have a company summary, but we have no job description for that job. So what I can do is I can click this edit job description button. And what I'm going to ask it to do is, here's our title. We're going to choose a level of that job. So this one is a P4. So let's make that a lead level role. And let's just go ahead and generate the job description based on that. And we'll see how that shows up. Let's see. So it takes a couple of seconds to write the description. It has to go out, write that, but not that long. So what we find here after we write the description is for a lead level compensation analyst, they're working independently. They're receiving guidance in complex situations, but they're using advanced knowledge about their function and the organization, and they're solving moderate and complex problems that may not have well-defined solutions that could impact the business. They're going to provide technical guidance, and they may formally mentor some employees. So what kind of responsibilities do compensation analysts have? They're conducting job analyses and evaluations. They're developing and administering base pay structures. They're designing and maintaining incentive and bonus programs, providing expertise and consultation to HR business partners and other stakeholders, analyzing compensation data. I don't need to read all of this to you, but I do think you get a good sense for the data that the data that we're seeing in here. And so we can kind of look through the skills, advanced knowledge of compensation principles, bachelor's degree, you can plug in years of experience. So all of this too is customizable. So if I decide we don't actually need a degree in a related field, we want to make that specific. Of course, you can come in here and you can save that. And this is just one of the problems we saw. This was the problem that most people said was the biggest problem in terms of actually writing descriptions. But what we can do on top of this is we can actually send this, we can have this written and we can send it to a team to have them review it. So I can create a list of approvers. And I'm going to say, Lindsay, we're going to send you an email that's going to have a link to this description. We're going to let you edit that. We're going to add you to the project. We're going to send it to Nick at CompTool.com. We're going to say, Nick, he just needs to view it. He doesn't need to actually edit it. And we're going to send it to Zach at CompTool.com. And Zach is going to be the final approver and final editor. So once we add him, what I can now do is I can send this out for approval. And now Lindsay has a copy of what just happened. So let's see. We'll stop the screen share and we'll start it back up. I think maybe I had it. That's what it was. We'll do the entire screen. There we go. All right. So we can see here now that we've written the job description. We've identified who our stakeholders are, who we want to be able to review the description, who we want to be able to edit the description, and who we want to be the final approver of that description. Now, all of these folks have access to that job description that was just written, and those people that we gave editability to can edit that job description. And then finally, the last person will be able to save it. It will then be saved as a final job description and stored right here as a different version. So that's the process that we would recommend folks can go through to generate job descriptions. Now, that was a fairly straightforward and easy job. Let's actually look at a more specific job to see if we can't stump a little bit our system. Let's look at a nuclear medicine technician, a fairly unique job that I had not heard of too long ago. I can come here. I can say we want to edit that job description, same as we did a moment ago. Now, I do have to pick the job level. I always have to pick the job level that we have. I'm going to choose intermediate level, and I'm going to just hit generate right here. And what that's going to do is that's going to then, again, generate that intermediate level nuclear medicine technician. And as that gets written, we can see here, it's going to kind of spin for a minute, and we'll see how good of a description that comes back as. So what I find is, actually, as we write more unique job descriptions, if there's information around those, you actually tend to get better results. Now, again, we're not suggesting this is going to replace people at this time. There still needs to be that human element to make sure that do these responsibilities align to what we're expecting of our employees in these roles. But it does give you a fantastic place to start from. It does really help to frame up and standardize that language being used in the job descriptions. And let's see. So here we are. So you can see the responsibilities, skills, education, years of experience. And again, all of these are customizable. The other thing that we can do on top of this as well is we can add in from that job description manager, different language or different sections in here. So we can add in specific tasks. We can add in software that we want to see. We can add in physical requirements. So these are all customizable per user, per individual. That really gives you a good sense for, or a good tool to build job descriptions quickly, to send them out to folks for approvals and make sure you've got the right people involved. And also gives you the ability to make sure that you have the right people, that you have version control, because as we save these descriptions, you'll see here, let's go back to our jobs and see if we can't find one. What you'll find is that we may have, for example, nope, that one's not saved. But you will see that there are versions that will track the history of those descriptions as they're written. It looks like we don't have any saved right here. But we're super excited to be able to share with you the new feature we've just launched, the Compensation Tools Job Description Manager. It's an optional add-on for folks that are using CompTool and Squirrel. Squirrel starts at $3,500 a year. Add a job description manager on top of that. You've got Squirrel data. I mean, you've essentially got what I would say is a great complement to a survey, as well as a job description manager that writes the descriptions for you, helps you with consolidating everything in one place, as well as helps to make sure that you do have the right approvals and folks involved in the process. It's something that we're really happy to offer, and it's another way that we're staying on the cutting edge for us folks here at CompTool. We're comp practitioners. This is the fun stuff for us, and we can't wait to kind of continue to build this out. And if you'd like more information, again, we have our freemium service. So if you go to comptool.com/squirrel, there's a place where you can apply for the freemium. Even comptool.com, I think that first page actually has a apply for the freemium tool on there. So get in there, take a look, apply for it. There's no strings attached. There's not a time limit on it. You get a limited number of searches and a limited number of jobs that you can create. But aside from that, it works pretty much similar to the rest of our software. So again, we're very excited to share this, and we'll be excited to kind of continue to roll this out and improve upon it. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We'd love to show you what we've been working on. Again, I'm Justin Hampton. This has been fun to walk through what we've been doing, and I will look forward to hearing from everybody in the next couple of weeks. All right, everybody.